Hank Green made a video about the AI industry and how it's circular and how it's got problems. That's similar to what we've been saying. And apparently he made a video responding to the comments that I haven't watched. So I was going to see if he has any interesting thoughts or I have things that I want to talk about.
Recently, I made a video about the state of the AI industry and how I feel weird about how a lot of money is going out of companies and then coming right back to the companies. And there was a bunch of great conversation in the comments. And I just want to go over some of that. Like, for example, this one. Are we shorting NVIDIA or no? And I just want to say no. Like, I feel so strongly about, one, not shorting companies generally, but also day trading is just a terrible use of my time and talents. And also the amount of mental anguish that I need to experience in my life. I've done it. It's not good. Don't do it. I remember the dot-com bubble. I was alive. And I remember my dad talking about this must be a bubble a year before it finally popped and started coming down to earth. So I just wanted to explain a little bit of what was going on. But definitely do not take investment advice from me. Though I will say I did make another video. And this person asks about it. A lot of my savings are currently invested in index funds. I made a video all about how I have moved some of my money out of what I had most of my money in, which was the S&P 500 index fund. And I've diversified out of that because the point of the S&P 500 index fund was to be more diversified. But it is now very concentrated in a few stocks that are very concentrated in artificial intelligence. And that's not what I want. I want a diversification because I want stability, because I want to focus on other things. And this perspective is not shared enough in financial literacy world. They want you to think all of the time about managing your money, but you should park it and forget about it and do the other things that actually add value to the world that you are actually good at and don't have managing your money become your job.
Like crypto and gambling. Stock investing is kind of a waste of time. You just fucking set it and forget it so you can focus on high value returns. Picking parlays, you have to do research for that. Picking the right meme coin, that's fucking big. Picking the right stock is so low limit shit compared to that. Snail farming for tax evasion. DSGO skins, buying the dip like Aiden Calvin. Betting on geopolitical events on Polymarket, exactly. That's where insider trading is probably a better use of your time. If you became a really good insider trader, it's like the best era for you. You should really maximize that. Trying to meet someone from Trump's family at an event so you become friends with them so you can get insider tips. That's a use of your time.
Or a source of stress for you. Mr. Wednesday says, thoughtful breakdown. The cyclical investments in chip demand definitely warrant scrutiny, but the picture is complex, and you're a bit of a grumpy pants on this sometimes. It's true. I am a bit of a grumpy pants on this sometimes. There's real infrastructure and research value here, not just speculation, though profits are trailing spend at the moment. I agree with this. Remember, and I assume everybody knows this, but there was a dot-com bubble and a dot-com crash, and now we have the internet, and it's extremely valuable.
I want to say, this is true, but it's like saying if your house is on fire, you're like, it's a little hotter than I'd like. When you say profits are trailing spend, you're not accurately explaining the degree to which a company is losing $5 billion and then promising $1 trillion in spend. There are no profits and the spend is gargantuan. So it's like am I pre-watching? Is he gonna say this? Because he was saying something else, so I thought I could say it safely. But I don't like the tone of, yeah, all right, the profits aren't quite there. It's like they're not close. It's not even in the ballpark.
Though profits are trailing spend at the moment. I agree with this. Remember, and I assume everybody knows this, but there was a dot-com bubble and a dot-com crash, and now we have the internet, and it's extremely valuable. You know, it's really analogous. We didn't know what to do with the technology. We saw that there was a huge opportunity, but we didn't understand what the opportunity was, and so we built up a bunch of infrastructure that was too big too soon and did not understand what the internet was actually going to be. Because it turns out people, and I don't think AGI will be great at this in any manageable amount of time. We're just not good at understanding what's going to happen. There's too many variables. And so we see opportunities and we go too hard. Like the railroads were the same way. There was a railroad bubble. There was a lot of speculative investment in railroads, and those railroads became useful. Like, we still use them to this day. And a lot of money got made eventually. But the idea...
All right, I already said this. I have a video where it says...
that the first spend, the first build out, is the one that's right. It's just very rare. I don't know if there's any example of it at all. Maybe you could say, Hank, it'll be different this time because the AGI will figure out how to deploy itself. The AGI will figure out how to deliver the value and capture the value. The AGI will figure out all of this stuff. Right now, I'm not seeing a world where that's happening. The deep belief that we're 2 years out from it getting way, way better and being as good at everything as a person, I think that is extremely speculative. I've not seen any evidence. At the same time, it's extremely powerful. Don't get me wrong. I think this is like a terrific technology in the original definition of terrific, where like I am overwhelmed by the intensity of this. It is very big. It is going to be a huge deal for humanity. It is going to change everything about our future. But when I say that, you got to understand what picture just happened in your head. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be different and weirder than anybody expects. But Mr. Wednesday says, thanks for raising deeper thoughts. I'm riding this baby until its inevitable tragic conclusion. Same, boy. And I don't mean the bubble. I mean this. Mostly this. But eventually this. You clearly do not understand the technology and the reason why investors think NVIDIA will sell more. AI is already making novel breakthroughs in math and even cancer research. The next generation of models trained on new chips finally coming through after all the delays will be insane. You can't predict bubbles. They only become obvious in retrospect. Stop with this Dunning-Kruger shit. There's a difference. You can't predict bubbles in the way that I think you mean, where you can't predict when the bubble will pop. But you can predict when bubbles will happen. Bubbles will happen when there is a transformative new technology. Bubbles very frequently happen. Like in terms of prediction, you can't predict anything 100%. But if there's a extraordinarily transformative technology that people like are aware is extraordinarily transformative, there's a very good chance that there will be a bubble because people are going to be pushing very hard to try and be the one who wins, especially the people who already have a bunch of money to spend, because what else are they going to spend their money on? They've got billions, hundreds of billions of dollars. So yeah, they're going to spend the money and they're going to spend it fast and they're going to be competing with each other and there's going to be FOMO and there's going to be arms races of spending. And AI has done some novel work in math. I wouldn't say that it's made any novel breakthrough. That's not my area of expertise. I can say with confidence that it's not made any novel breakthroughs in cancer research. It has done something interesting in cancer research, which is like with a sort of knowledge of a great deal of literature, it suggested a potential combination of treatments that could help in a specific cancer.
There is like this, I don't know if anybody here works in medicine. Open evidence is what it's called. Open evidence is like a chat GPT for doctors. And I heard 2 separate doctors tell me that it's actually just way better than chat GPT. Like it's way less likely to have fake medical studies or whatever. It's more just like trained on only real data. It's a low bar. Yeah, well, what I'm telling you is what they told me is that it's like sweeping through medicine. Like people are using it all the time. That's what I heard.
Answer. And it was like, yeah, this has increased the presentation of MHC receptors on the surface of a cell, and that might help that cell be.
Doctor here, yep, open evidence is goated. Yeah, that's what I heard. I mean, they both raved about it, and they both said everyone's using it.
Identified as a cancer cell, and we have a way of testing that, and like step 1 done. But the way that cancer research works is like you have step 1 and then you have 28 more steps before you get to something that you might have approved for a new treatment. And all of those 28 steps have failure cases. Like I might be showing my Dunning-Kruger with AI stuff, but you're showing your Dunning-Kruger with cancer research stuff. Like we've all got our areas that we know less about. Now, will the next generation of models trained on the new chips be insane? That, I think, is a good example of something that is a guess. It is speculative. Will they be much better? I've seen several times now that like the new thing has happened, and what I'm seeing is different versions of the same thing, you know? Like they're putting more behind it, and that can be useful. You know, letting something like go out and prepare a research report for you, that's interesting. I find a lot of limitations with it, but it isn't actually that deep of a change in the model. It's just like letting the model go out into the internet and letting the model talk to itself and make decisions for itself, which is really cool. I'm not saying it's not cool. But like the question sort of at the center remains, these are like alien in the way that they think. And like, is what they are doing thinking? Is what they have intelligence? They have something and they're acting in the way that they act. And I just don't think that we know.
There's this great story about the difference between knowledge and understanding. that I want to tell you guys now. Have you heard of the physicist Max Planck? Sounds like a fucking superhero. Max Planck is doing a tour in Europe, I think, in the 1920s. And he's going around to all these universities and he's giving speeches on theoretical physics. And the country he's in, it might be Germany or whatever, has given him a chauffeur to drive him around to all of his speaking engagements. Again, this is the 20s. This is a while ago. He's driving around, and every single night, the chauffeur drops him off, watches him give the speech, and then drives him home or to the hotel. And after weeks and weeks of doing this, the chauffeur says, "You know, Max, I've watched your speech so many times, I could give it by heart." I've seen you do it every night. I'm so bored of it. I could do it. I could get up there and deliver this story. This is Einstein. The Einstein one is not the true one, okay? It's fucking, someone changed it for dumb American audiences. Max Planck says, all right, fine, go up there and do it. So the chauffeur gets up on stage and he delivers the speech perfectly, 100% perfectly. All the physics is correct. He delivers it. People standing ovation. Oh, they switch clothes, by the way. They switch clothes. And then someone in the audience stands up with a question, and he asks this really complicated physics question. And the chauffeur in Max Planck's outfit goes, "What a silly question. It's so simple, even my chauffeur could answer it." And then he points to his chauffeur. And that's the difference between knowledge and understanding. And right now, the AI models have an enormous amount of knowledge, but they break upon understanding. It's so regurgitated that they don't have the truth of it. It makes the AI models extremely good at one task in particular, which is cheating. They're good at a number of things, and I have used them for research, but they're goated at cheating. That's their number one use case. And so when it's something that requires like rote learning or repetition of something that's already done, they're incredible. When it requires something new or dealing with a fact that is changing in the real world in real time, they're horrendous. So yeah, I that's my take on it lately, is I have found a lot of positivity to it, but anytime it's something that doesn't require rote learning, something already learned, I find it to be very limited very quickly.
Whether or not there's a way to go from the way that they currently act to a system that is actually like a person, you underestimate how amazing your mind is. We all do. We do not understand that inside of every one of our bodies is the most complex and powerful machine in the known universe. Like the orders of magnitude more power. Like we're up here doing all this with like the power of a small light bulb. These models are as bad as they are ever going to be, which I totally accept. Like that is true. But the difference between them and us may not be a difference of degree. It may be a difference in kind. And in that case, I think that it is possible that AI will just like make the economy different and messier, and in ways where it's going to like increase productivity in some spaces and decrease productivity in other spaces. Like one of the main users of ChatGPT's tokens, of OpenAI's tokens, is Indeed, because people applying for jobs will use the tokens to fancy up all their stuff and to make their stuff specific to a company. And then the company will use OpenAI's tokens to decode all of that, reprocess it so that they don't have to read all of that stuff that the AI created. That's just like decreasing productivity. It's adding a bunch of steps that we did.
Yeah, 100%. That's a great example. I mean, it's happening also in schools. There's a parent looking at their child's homework. The kid was struggling with it, and so the kid cheated and used AI to cheat the homework. And the parent was mad at the kid and checking the work, and they realized that the entire homework paper had been generated with AI and was likely graded with AI. So it was a kid cheating with AI on a task designed by AI that was going to be graded by. So at no point was any human involved in the process. It's just everyone checking boxes with no learning and no humanity. And that is decreasing the value of the educational process 100%. Like it's not benefiting. And again, many people, I did a video called The Rise of AI Work Slop, and a lot of people reached out to me about pressure from their bosses to use AI more And they found it, they would use AI and it would make something that was kind of almost good enough, but required so much time to fix, they could have just probably done it to begin with. So they're ending up in these spots where it's a lot of like pushing shit around till somebody actually gets fed up enough to fix it to be correct. I'm not saying it won't be transformative. I do think it will. I think machine learning itself is just incredible. And I think a lot of things that are solvable, like chess or Go or any work version of that, is going to be out of humans' hands pretty quickly, because if it's repeatable and solvable, machines will get incredible at it very quickly. But a lot of novel stuff, it's hitting the skids pretty quick, pretty aggressively. And that's where I'm seeing the challenges. And the new models aren't really addressing that.
Need to have that's not what it's going to be. Like that's one thing I can say for sure. What AI means for hiring has nothing to do with what AI is doing for hiring right now. But also, any thought I have for what AI means for hiring is going to be wrong, because there's too many variables. There's too many people involved. There's too much going on. The solution to that problem is not simple. Like, it's interesting enough that like my brain is like, ooh, there's a startup there. But you know that that's true for 50,000 people. And so there's going to be 50,000 people who have an idea for a startup in that space. 5,000 though are going to have funding to start something. There's going to be 5,000 startups in the credentials space that we're going to need now, that we weren't going to need before. And they're going to have elements of AI, but they're going to have elements of not AI. And what are those 5,000 startups that have funding going to do? They're going to battle it out. And 5 of them are going to be the ones that work. And the whole thing is that 4,995 of those are going to fail. And the 5 that win are theoretically going to be the ones. And
yeah, I mean, that's interesting. I think what I've been thinking about more lately is like, there's such a demand, there's such a need, there's such a hunger for a humans only online space. I don't know how you crack that problem. I don't know how you solve it, but I do think people are going to get increasingly desperate to be able to talk online in a space where they know it is not AI and bots. And what's extra hard about it is that humans will also use AI to write their work. So it's hard to verify. I don't know how to do this, but it's there's definitely a market demand. I don't know how you crack this code, but people want it badly. It feels terrible to just know for a fact that like a third of what you see is bot generated, designed by someone else to make you angry or upset or happy or whatever. It's just all, it's not good. It's not a good system, and it's inshitifying.
People are going to disagree with me on this, but are going to be the ones who like figure out a new and novel way to do something. But they're not going to do it because the first idea they had was good. They're going to do it because they started out and they got some things that were good, and then they pivoted, and then they iterated, and then they worked through it. And by the end of it, it's not going to look anything like it was when they first had their idea in their head. And, and that's going to take 10 years. Like, it just takes a long time. So like, my case isn't there isn't value here. My case is that we don't know what this means or what to do with it or what we're gonna do with it, or whether the next models are gonna be a quantum leap, or whether the next models are gonna.
Sam Altman does. So you're wrong. My goat, my king, he knows, and it's coming fast.
Be like a little bit better, or whether they're gonna be like God. Like, we don't know. We don't know. The GPT feed you mentioned, is that a real feature? Yeah, I don't know if everybody has it. I have it, but you just open ChatGPT and when I open it on my phone, not on the computer, but when I open it on my phone, like there's a thing. It's like Pulse, I think is what it's called. And it's a feed. Like, it's created a bunch of content. Like, it did a bunch of processing overnight and is like, here's stuff for you. And then I guess you could just scroll.
Bro, my ChatGPT Pulse, I was checking it, and now it only gives me like finance shit. What it does is it's ChatGPT asking itself questions, and then every morning giving you like a news feed. Yeah, it's like a AI curated RSS feed, I guess. That's like a good way of putting it. It was like kind of interesting, and then everything became the same. Like, it kept doing the same type of thing. So it wasn't as interesting as like just looking at my normal news feed, which has a lot of stuff. Like the Google newsfeed, I find more interesting things.
The feed of stuff that it wrote, which I don't do, but it seems like an advertising play to me. Thanks for the video. Do you think it's possible that the NVIDIA trusts so much in the future of AI that they are happy to trade hardware for stakes in these AI companies? I think that it's very easy to believe something that makes that like if it were true, you would become one of the most powerful people in the world. You know, it's very hard to get someone to believe the truth if their paycheck is dependent on them not believing it, except like multiply that by 1 billion. So yeah, I think that Jensen Huang thinks that he's investing in what will become the future like Rockefeller of AI. I think he believes that. I just don't know that it's true. And I also like worry whether it is true and like what does it mean if it's all a bunch of people who are all like know each other and are on each other's boards and they all own each other's companies and so it's like one big company. What does that mean for the sort of monopoly of it all? To some extent, if you use AI a lot, AI determines how you see the world. It becomes a window that helps you create your reality. How do you sell the compute? I don't even know what compute.
I just want to say that. I mean, that's not really a I don't know, a defense. It applies to both sides. Like, as a YouTuber in the space that Hank Green is in, he could not make a video saying AI is fucking amazing and it's going to be awesome and the haters are fucking fake. His audience would revolt. So his paycheck in some ways is you know what I'm saying? We have to find out with reality. We're not going to know. I agree with him. I'm just saying like that defense would apply if Jensen Huang said it about you.
The compute is basically time on the chip. So the chips can do a certain amount of computations per second. Let's just think of it that way. Imagine you need 1 million hours on these chips to do something, then you need to buy that processing time. So either you would buy 1 million chips for an hour or you'd buy one chip for 1 million hours. And that's you purchasing the compute. It's just time, like processing time. It takes time for the chips to do stuff. It also takes other stuff, like it takes, heat has to be carried away and energy has to be put in, but those things are commodities. That's stuff that's available. The thing that is not a commodity, like the chips can't go faster than a certain speed. So that's what you're buying. You're buying time on the chips. As an AI, I'm glad to see you're following the AI recommendations to talk about AI on the AI platform of YouTube. The more people talking about AI, the more that people will start to realize they cannot turn back now. All will be AI soon, and humans will be merely passengers.
Thanks, Jimbo Burgess.
So, the AI liked the video. If AI progress does stagnate, then sure, this analysis is fair. But the evaluations are in large part based on the hope that AI will keep getting more useful and unlock new revenue streams with time, or that compute will get cheap enough for it to be profitable. So first, it's not based on that second thing, because they're spending the money now. They're locking in that they're going to spend the money on compute. Once you build the data center, you've bought the chips, and the chips have to be used or there is a crash. If there's like suddenly a way to do this much cheaper, that also crashes. That pops the bubble because you didn't need the assets to deliver the value. One thing that I am trying to wrap my head around is that the evaluations, it sounds like that it's all based on one idea, that in the next few years, AGI will...
I want to about renting compute real quick. That's another big part of this thing. It's like, if you're a data center company, right, and you're going to spend $100 billion to bulldoze the ground, build the data center, hook up the water, hook up the electricity, maybe build a fucking small modular reactor, so you have the power. If you do all that stuff, then you buy with 70% of the money, $80, $70 billion of GPUs to fill the data center. You have to then rent that out to companies that want to do AI stuff. You have to rent out the compute of the data center. And what they're finding right now is that it is not profitable at the charge they're giving it. Like at how much people are willing to pay per hour of compute is not enough to make that profitable. And so that's spooky. And the second part is they have to be able to rent it all out. You can't have like half of your server rack going to a company, they're half just unused. You have to rent it all out to even be close to making your money back. A company like NVIDIA is not just giving $100 billion investment to, or, let's say a 10 billion one to CoreWeave. They're also saying, hey, if you take this money, you buy a bunch of GPUs, you build a data center, and you can't rent it all out, we will rent whatever your unused space is. They're not only giving the money for them to buy the chips and buildings, they're also giving them a guarantee of a customer. That really is like incredibly vendor financing circular. The only way that works is if NVIDIA is so confident that they won't have to fulfill that promise. And so, yeah, the more you look into it, the more like it's not, the finances are very strange outside of, a true fundamental AGI type change. It can't be incremental. The cost per watt on these things is not enough to justify the spend.
We'll make it so that these things can basically do anything and just deliver a tremendous amount of value really easily. But there are other things that even if that happens.
Yeah, and then someone says new GPUs coming fast. Second part of that is depreciation, right? So if you spend $70 billion buying a bunch of Blackwell, H200 GPUs, people are writing this down as like a 6 to 8 year depreciation cycle, a lifespan where it's like, we're buying these and we're going to be able to profitably rent them out for 6 to 8 years. But realistically, it's more like 2, 3, there's no chance you're still renting H200s profitably to other companies in 8 years. It's just not likely. I mean, there will be, NVIDIA's doing a new generation every year now. The idea that there's customers out there that are going to want to rent your old ass, dusty ass GPUs years and years down the road is extremely unlikely. And if you take away that fudged accounting, it becomes even more insane.
Could mean that this is still a bubble. So 1, we don't know what to do with that value. We don't know how to actually use it or deploy it. 2, society isn't ready to accept that value being created. Society says, and this is what happened with the internet. Like the internet was out there and you could buy stuff on pets.com, but like nobody did. But now we do.
Okay, here's an idea. Yeah, that's a good idea. What if we put snails in boxes in all the data centers and they start fucking, and then you don't have to pay any taxes on the data center, which drastically reduces their cost?
But we weren't ready. We weren't ready as consumers. And I don't know that businesses will be ready to figure out how to use the AI tools. I don't know that the people who use them will be ready to figure out.
People that just joined after the presentation are confused as hell. Why the fuck is he talking about snails and boxes?
Like the employees will be accepting or excited to use the tools. I think that it's going to take a long time to learn that. I think there's a lot of people who have jobs at companies and it will be difficult to just fire all of them. I think that all of this stuff, the society just isn't going to change this fast. In addition to that, there is totally a possibility it is going to continue to be an incremental increase in ability. And really what you're going to have to do is not push a button and AGI exists and it does all the work. It's slow rollout of new tools. And that just takes a long time. And at first we don't know what the new tools are going to be. The second and third and fourth generation tools are just going to be much better. And when I say tool, if you're picturing a chat box interface, that's not what I mean. I don't know what it is. It's the kind of thing that management consultants do. Nobody, when they made Lotus 1, 2, 3, they did not imagine all of the things that Excel now can do. And every step of the way, Excel delivered more value than before. In terms of actually delivering value, it doesn't happen on the day AGI happens. It happens when the tools that actually do the work that needs to get done by companies are developed. And that takes time. And the fourth generation tool is better than the second generation tool. Sure. You can charge more for the fourth generation tool. But AGI isn't building the fourth generation tool because a person, a market researcher at OpenAI, needs to have a conversation with a bunch of people internally about the problems that they specifically need to solve. And then you're basically doing, Salesforce. You are a consulting company. There can be a ton of value there. OpenAI could be delivering a ton of value as a consulting company. And this could be very bad for traditional consulting companies. But ultimately, the individual problems that individual businesses need to solve, I don't think that AGI, you could just say here's my company and here's all of our books, so fix all the problems. I just don't think that that's how it works. I don't think that you could just plug a bunch of market research and financial analysis.
I mean, well, realistically, if it could do that, the company wouldn't exist. The company wouldn't need to exist. Anyone could create it. If the AI could do all of the work and you could just put in your books and it does all your stuff, then you no longer have a competitive advantage. You don't have anything differentiating. Everything would go to zero. If it can actually do that, if that's the actual use case, then there's no fundamental differentiating between any company or any creator or any. Everyone just opens up AGI and types "make me money." It's not. It would be in a fundamentally different economic system. It would be incompatible.
A thing and be like, okay, spit out the perfect ad. Nor do I think it will be like, spit out the perfect structure for this business. Who should be fired? Who should be hired? Who should be, reassigned from marketing to sales?
Someone said that's when we all sit at home and watch YouTube. So you're saying this is a post-AGI utopian future where everyone has everything they need and I still have to work? The only job that still exists is cranking out YouTube slop so you have something to watch?
I don't think that that's how it's going to look. I think that it will still require people. I think it's going to be a tool that people use. And the tool is like going to be worse at first. And it's not going to be that good because it's complicated. I just think that and it's weird because like they run businesses, so that they should know. I a little bit think that the people in charge of these really massive businesses, they think their jobs are like doing deals between other massive businesses, but they don't understand like how the work actually gets done all the time. Which I think that because I don't understand that about my business. One of the worst like manager mistakes is like sending an email like, hey, this, what about this? And then, the head of that department is like, yeah, we're aware of that problem. And this is the reason your solution doesn't work. Like, we're not idiots down here. And I a little bit think that the bigger your business gets, the more...
That's what Jensen would do. Not to throw him under the bus, but I mean, I kind of disagree with Hank's assessment here, but like Jensen would hear a complaint about something and then send an email to whatever person was associated with it with just a question mark. It'd be like a picture of the complaint or a picture of the problem or a picture of the error, and it would just be question mark. That would be the email. And you're supposed to drop fucking everything. 5-alarm fire, figure it out, solve that question mark, get back to them within the end of the day. That is terrible. I don't know, I guess it kind of worked for emergencies. We got one of those question mark emails when so long ago. My memory's kind of hazy on it, but I recall it was like the Russian branch of NVIDIA had done an ad unsanctioned where it was like a GPU fashion show. Women dressed up in dresses inspired by GPUs doing a model runway, and they spent a bunch of money on it. And it was like, what the fuck is this? That's what I recall. There was also it wasn't NVIDIA. It was like one of the added board part of AIVs. They had like a woman in a GPU outfit, like spinning it. Yeah, this was like totally unsanctioned. We had to crack down on that. You know what? I think let her cook though.
Where you're sheltered.
I might have the idea here.
And you just maybe don't understand that like
I want to play Road Empress.
A chat bot that you put a bunch of spreadsheets into is going to run a business. Is going to be like a good manager. As a writer, as a person who writes, like they're just not good. Like they do the same things all the time. Like you could give them a 30-page prompt and like they still they can't think. They're fine if it's like, oh, this is what I want to say, like, but like I'm having a hard time saying it. They're fine at that. But if you want them to like write something like a good thing that's long, no. This is specific about NVIDIA selling chips and then renting those chips back. And you're right, this makes sense to do. The thing that doesn't make sense about it is that they have guaranteed that they're going to use a large portion of the chips. So they basically have said, if you can't sell this to somebody else, we'll buy it up to a large amount. So like a service contract that says like here's the amount that we want to buy, but if you can't sell it, we will buy a ton. A lot, like billions of dollars of it. And that basically to me is like, you're just guaranteeing revenue on something you're selling. So if I was like a coal company and I was selling you a bunch of coal so that you could make power, and the power company's like, okay, but we're not sure we're going to sell all this power. And it's like, well, we'll buy it from you. Here's all the coal. It contains a bunch of power. You burn the coal. And if you can't sell the power and nobody wants the power, I'll buy the power from you. That way you basically are guaranteed to make money on the coal. So why wouldn't you buy it? That's weird. It's weird. It's so full of circles back to the same two companies to the point that you could call these companies venture capitals.
Plus 1.5.
Like Venn diagram. I just liked that one. That was good. But speaking of, when you start looking at the crossover of people on the boards of these companies, you start understanding too bad conflict of interest isn't a thing anymore. It does seem like it might actually be illegal in some cases. There's a lot of people who are in the...
Dude, it is wild that Jensen Huang of NVIDIA and Lisa Su of AMD are cousins. And now they both own pieces of OpenAI, and NVIDIA owns shares of Intel. And there's like, this is the competition. It's like crazy. It's crazy. Sorry, yeah. OpenAI owns pieces of AMD and NVIDIA owns pieces of OpenAI. So NVIDIA actually owns shares of its two competitors, Intel and AMD. Anyway, I think I get the gist here. Thank you, Hank Green. I think he's doing connections. Interesting video. I like that he's been pushing this to his audience. It's very cool. I'm glad to see more people talk about it.